Okay, I feel like before I go fully into this video, I need to give a disclaimer. Today, I'm feeling like if the shoe fits, dance, Cinderella. If any of these statements apply to you, this video is for you. These are life-changing decisions, and we don't have time for adults with limited accountability. People always have an excuse for why they choose not to foster. And to be honest, when I think about it, like on a general scale, I get it. It's not the easiest thing to commit to. At the end of the day, you are taking care of another life, or maybe multiple lives. And so for that reason, I tend to reroute my energy to supporting those who do show interest, rather than like basically trying to force all people to feel like they need to be foster parents. But one of my biggest pet peeves is the people that show interest adamantly, and then they choose to like beat around the bush and come up with all the reasons in the world why they can't. The top worst excuses I hear are, oh my gosh, I would love to, I've always dreamed of it, but I'm so scared that I'm gonna wanna keep them. Like, just don't. My second pet peeve isn't as much of a pet peeve, but it's more so just like, come on, is when people say that they've never done it before. Like, do you think that everybody that learns how to do it was just born out the womb saving animals? Or the best one yet, my home isn't big enough. So you think a kennel is? Or how about underneath a trailer? No matter what in life, there are going to be ups and downs. There is nothing you can think of in this world that doesn't have a potential caveat. So ignoring the existence of those caveats won't make it go away. It just lessens your ability to be in control of the impact. I feel like the best way to take control of that impact is by being committed to making a positive one. One of my favorite terms I heard this year was from a YouTuber. I think I'll have to find her. She calls herself a tragic optimist, meaning in the face of tragedy or hard situations, it's important to be committed to being optimistic. And the intention behind this term really just helps people reconcile with the fact that we will not always be on a high in our life. Like sometimes there will be lows. And so being prepared for those lows and being prepared to change the impact of those lows, I think is so much better than just acting like everything is out of our hands. So like that excuse of like the potential scary situations is because at the end of the day, I know what they're really trying to avoid is facing that feeling of wanting something and not wanting to experience the pain of not getting to keep it. I don't know, there's a bunch of reasons, but essentially everybody is just trying to avoid pain. And not physical pain, it's emotional pain. Nobody wants to cry. And I'm here to remind you that not all crying is bad. Sometimes it's good crying, and it's up to you to decide whether or not that feeling is worth it to you. But at the end of the day, holding yourself more accountable grows your ability to control the type of impact that the ups and downs of just being a human will have on you. If you want just a quick takeaway from the things that I'm saying, fostering is one of the easiest and most convenient options out there for those that are looking to build a bond with animals, but they don't have the ability to adopt. Or I believe it's just the best way to approach any interest in animals, because if you do plan to adopt, you get a moment to get to know each other first. I'm not the type of person to just talk the talk. Like before I even say anything, I walk the walk. And those of you who have been keeping up with the progression of my channel know that this video is the last of my 3-phase fostering framework that essentially details exactly everything that I do when I foster. Phase 1 was finding the right facility. Phase 2 was taking care of the cats. But if you aren't familiar with who I am, it may help to know almost every cat I've gotten adopted was either fostered by me, foster coordinated by me, or in Mochi and Rico's case, foster failed by me. And in my personal opinion, I actually think it's way easier to be a foster parent than it is to be an actual parent, to adopt the animals. Like, it is so much easier not to foster fail than you think. So here's how my family treats the one phase that basically stops potential foster parents from fostering. We're officially at adoption day. Hi guys, come sit. Hello. Hi baby, how are you? It's our last day together. How are you feeling? You ready to find your parents? Oh, hello. We have baby number 2. So this is red-tailed hawk. New adopted name, Moomba. This is Red Pole. Hi, baby. New adopted name, Seven. Oh. You want to say hi to the people? She's so pretty. She used to look like Voldemort. And last but not least, we have Miss Raven, now known as Suki. Hi, Suki. But you guys heard me, it's adoption day. The last place that I left off in my previous video was the first 24 hours of fostering. A big part of what you do in phase 3 is the result of what you do in phase 2, so I'm kind of going to use this video as an opportunity to update you guys about the things that we did for the full month that they were with us to help make phase 3 as successful as it was. The first place I'm going to start is with the biggest takeaway. And I know it probably sounds cliche, but honestly, during phase 2 or before you even foster maybe, you need to approach fostering with the right mindset. Most people foster for one of two reasons. Either you want to take care of some animals in need, or you're looking to adopt an animal in need. Either way, you need to be clear in your mind which category you fit into so that you hold yourself accountable for every intention during phase 2 and 3. Now, if your intention is to adopt, it's pretty straightforward. Your mindset is enjoy the time with the foster pet, and if you enjoy it, keep them, and if you don't, help make sure that they get ready to be adopted by somebody else. But if your mindset is to be a foster parent, this is the analogy I like to tell people to help make sure that they're in the right mindset, to hold themselves accountable for the relationship that they're building with these foster animals. Imagine the foster cat is trying to move from point A to point B. Point A is the current conditions that it's in. In this state, they're homeless, probably hungry, probably flea-ridden, and they just have limited access to resources. At point B, everything will be completely opposite. They'll have unlimited resources and they'll have a family, basically everything a domestic cat could dream of. In this analogy, you are neither point A nor point B. You are the boat that's going to get that cat from point A to point B. When it comes to any form of transportation, the captain or the driver has a choice. This could be a boring and bland boat ride, i.e. a safe boat ride. They just get you from point A to point B. Or you can be the best damn boat ride that these passengers have ever experienced. When it gets to the end of that boat ride, you're not going to try to keep your passengers hostage. You knew that your intention was to get them from point A to point B. So the best that you can do, or the most fulfilling thing that you can do, is leave those passengers. They can share the love and the energy that they felt on your boat ride with other people. And not only that, but it helps to reshift your mindset to realize you should feel like you want the cats. You should feel like every cat that you foster is an amazing cat and would be a perfect cat to keep. If you didn't, why do you think anybody else would? So if the cat that you're fostering is becoming a lovable, likable baby, and in your eyes a dream cat to keep, that just means that they're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. Every good trait that they have is like leveling up. You want your foster cats or kittens to all be someone's dream cat. The more that you do this, the more you'll start to get a hang on the mindset that you can raise almost any cat to be great. So you don't have to feel like you need to keep every single cat. And not only that, I'm somebody that's foster failed too. So I understand when you look at an animal and say, I think you're perfect for my home. And I'm saying that this doesn't stop those opportunities from happening. In fact, it actually helps you get better at distinguishing the type of traits of a cat that's perfect for your home. So that when you are in a situation where you are considering foster failing, you can say to yourself, these are the attributes that I've recognized are great in my home. Foster failing is not bad at all. However, if your intention wasn't to adopt, you need to hold yourself accountable for what your job is if you choose to continue to foster. If you fit in the category of people who are fostering to adopt, you've got about as much as you can out of this video. Because the last portion of this video is going to be for people who are fostering just to be a foster parent and want to be prepared for adoption, or they need help getting their animal adopted. So my first intention between phase 2 and 3 is making sure these cats look good and feel good. I make sure that they look clean. I make sure that they're not sick. I make sure that their health is in tip-top shape. Once I've got a great ground zero with these cats,
I'll then set the intention to start observing their personalities, and not just observing them, but growing them in a positive direction. The easiest way for me to do this is literally positive redirection. For example, I noticed that Moomba likes to hide into places. She was the one that was typically sleeping inside of our couch. I like the fact that she knew how to find comfy spaces for herself. However, I did want to reroute that into a more positive direction and give her or find her beds or huts or furniture that was made for her to give her that satisfaction of having her own space. Once I got a good idea of what their personalities are like, I make an intention to talk about them a lot. If I know that there's people that love kittens, I'll call them and tell them we have kittens in our house. I'll post about them. I don't really post a lot on social media, so I don't do this as much now, but I did in the past post on Instagram, oh, look who's in my house. If there's any groups I'm part of, I'll just mention them in any groups. I just talk about the cats a lot. It helps so that more people know about these cats needing homes than just you. They could have a friend of a friend who's interested in getting cats. Like, you never know. So if you just talk about them and put their need into the universe, I feel like it comes back to them. Usually by this point, it's actually pretty easy for me to get these cats adopted or find somebody to adopt them. However, if that isn't the case, this is when I make the intention for meet and greets. It's kind of like my personal last resort. Some people start off with meet and greets because it really is the easiest way to get cats adopted. However, for me personally, just as a foster parent, it's my last resort because I want cats in my home, not people. But it really does help. That's why so many rescue facilities have adoption events, because people will really just walk up, see a cat and say, oh my gosh, I have to take care of you. We talked about them a lot with our friends and family. And once we saw certain people interested, we started to talk more about the cats with traits that I knew would work well in their homes. I was luckily pretty familiar with the dynamic of these households. I knew how many animals they had, and I knew how much animal experience each of them had. So I took a close look at each of the cats' personalities and distinguished which ones I thought would do best in which home. Now this is the update of how they're doing in their households. They've been there for 2 weeks, and every family has been ecstatic about their brand new companion. And it worked out so perfectly. Each home was actually very different. I thought Moomba would do best in the household that didn't have a cat because she loved her independence, and I could tell from an early age. However, Suki, I could tell that she was a very affectionate cat. Sometimes she would just walk up to me, look up at me, and just sprawl herself on me. I would catch her just watching me do certain activities throughout the day, so I knew that she was the type of cat to be your right-hand man. I knew that she would do best in the household with the cat mom that is heavily affectionate. And lastly, 7, I could tell that she was just the star of the show. Like, she knew that she was the prize. She knew that she can go do whatever she wanted. She was not afraid of anything. And so I figured that she would do best in the household with cats that were a little bit shy. I figured she would be like a little firecracker in that household. And when I observed her behavior and how she responded to Mochi and Rico when they originally weren't so happy about her presence, I thought she did a fantastic job. And to be honest, it went better than I thought. And that's really that. These approaches have yet to fail me. As stated before, every animal I've fostered has gotten adopted, except the ones that I foster failed and the unfortunate single case where one of them had passed away from congenital heart failure. I hope you guys enjoyed this 3-part series. I also hope that I answered you guys' questions to your liking or the depth of information you were looking for. Please feel free to stay tuned in for my next video. Thank you again, and see you next time.